Hi, I'm Rachel Freeman.
And I'm Clark Schaefer.
Welcome to this edition of Teens in Action.
In this show, we will focus on violence. We will explore the realities of emotional abuse, physical abuse, and effects of dating violence.
Violence is present whenever someone feels unsafe, threatened, or uncomfortable. So, is violence just physical?
We want to know what you think, so we sent our Teens in Action reporters around the city to ask teens if they can recognize the different forms of violence.
Violence is not just a physical attack. Verbal and emotional abuse is also violence. How do people express violence differently?
It's just like not physical, and it's, verbal or, like emotional. Like some people will hit someone or they will like threaten them.
I don't know, I socked the wall.
Oh, well, I think guys are more aggressive than girls are.
I think women are more aggressive than men. They're ready to fight like all the time.
So I guess some people express it through words, fighting, tagging.
Guys punch and girls scratch and pull hair.
Through rumors, violence, physical.
I think guys do it physically and girls kind of keep it to themselves.
Some people have angry tempers and they just...
What do you think is worse, physical violence or emotional violence?
Both.
I think emotional, just because it messes with a person's mind and the way they feel about themselves.
Emotional is worse because it can stay inside of you and then you can just explode and do something stupid.
I think emotional is because if it grows up inside, you'll hit something that you don't even know.
Emotional violence can be damaging more because it gets in people's heads and it's mentally disturbing.
Emotional.
Definitely emotional, because a bruise can heal, but it takes a lot more to mend someone's heart.
Emotional. Emotional.
When is violence acceptable and why?
Violence isn't acceptable because there should be another way for you to show your emotion without having to abuse someone mentally or physically.
Defense.
I don't think violence is acceptable at all.
Only when someone's beating you up and then self-defense.
If you're at the whiskey and you're in a mosh pit.
It's not, I guess, never.
I don't think violence is acceptable anytime, but if you need to stand up for yourself and it comes down to violence where somebody's hurting you and you need to stick up for yourself, then I guess there would be no problem standing up for yourself.
When teenagers think about violence, they don't relate it to dating relationships. Often, teens believe that jealousy is a sign of love, that they would never become a victim, and if put in this type of situation, they can handle it themselves.
Next, the Teens in Action crew ask a panel of experts about the reality of dating violence.
We are here today with a panel from Break the Cycle, a national organization that teaches youth and young adults about dating and domestic violence, healthy relationships, and their legal rights. Statements such as, "I didn't mean to do it," or "you made me hit you," is common for abusers. Is abuse a choice?
That's a great question. Absolutely, abuse is a choice. People can choose to respond to difficult situations violently or non-violently, and oftentimes abusers actually choose violence as a way to solve conflict.
Yes, I agree that abuse is a choice, but oftentimes abusers do not take responsibility for that choice. Instead, they do blame the victim, saying, how did you expect me to react when I saw you doing this? Or, you know how I get when I see you talking to other boys. So definitely it's a choice, and that's why it's important for victims to become educated about the cycle of violence so that they can recognize that it's not their fault.
It definitely is a choice, but sometimes a person was raised in an abusive environment as a child, but that's no excuse for growing up to become an abuser yourself. You have to choose to break the cycle, and you have to choose to empower yourself and to make healthy decisions.
Would you ever mentally or physically abuse your best friend?
No.
Then why would you let her boyfriend?
Don't sit on the sidelines and let your friends be abused. A typical description of an abusive man, a perpetrator, is that he is uneducated, an alcoholic or drug abuser, and of lower economic class. How would you describe a perpetrator of an abuse looks and acts like?
Well, you can't really describe what a typical perpetrator of abuse looks and acts like, because it could really be, a man or a woman, gay or straight, and, across the board from all classes.
Definitely, I just want to emphasize that although we oftentimes think that an abuser is only a man, oftentimes women are the abusers themselves, and they can abuse men and women alike. So that's something that we really need to pay attention to, that it's not only men who are abusing women.
You're stubborn.
Yo, you're stubborn.
You never listen.
You'll never have it.
You're stubborn.
Yo, you're
stubborn.
Yo, you're
stubborn.
Yo, you're
stubborn.
Yo, you're stubborn.
What type of behavior usually comes before physical violence? Oftentimes, abuse can be emotional before it becomes physical, and some of the important warning signs to look out for are possessiveness, jealousy, controlling behavior. Sometimes an abuser will try to isolate his or her victim from their family and friends.
Why do women hide the fact that they have been assaulted?
Again, a lot of times women are embarrassed to admit that something violent has happened to them or they've been assaulted. It's hard to talk to people about really personal and intimate things that happen in their lives, and so it becomes really difficult to speak about it.
He loves me. He loves me. He loves me not. He loves me not. He loves me. He loves me. He loves me not. He loves me. He loves me. He loves me. He loves me not. He loves me not. He loves me. He loves me. He loves me not. Break the cycle. Stand against domestic violence.
Why do people choose to stay in abusive relationships?
There are a lot of reasons why victims have a hard time leaving abusive relationships. One reason that's important is that, of course, they may have feelings for their abuser, and it can be very confusing for someone that you think you love to be abusing you. Another reason could be that they've become so isolated from their family and friends that they don't feel that they have anyone else they could turn to. Or they could become financially dependent on their abuser. For example, if they live together, if they have children together, they might not want to break up the family. So there's a lot of reasons like that why victims have a hard time leaving abusive relationships, and it takes some people multiple attempts before they're successful, but that's why it's really important not to judge the victim and to just be supportive of them and try to encourage them to get out, because they deserve to be in healthy relationships.
Look at you. How could you do something like that? You swore years ago you wouldn't do what your father did, but look at you now. You're not where it started, but you can be where it ends.
Thank you all very much, and we hope teens will now understand their right to have a safe and healthy relationship.
I told him to stop. I'm afraid of him.
I can't leave. I don't have anyone else.
I don't know what to do. There is help. Millions of teenagers are sexually and mentally harassed by their significant other every year. You can help break the cycle. Ask questions. Don't let fear hold you back.
Finding someone you like and want to go out with is always exciting. It should be easy, but dating relationships can be confusing, especially for teens.
Dating can bring on new emotions like insecurity, separation, anxiety, and jealousy. Let's see what a group of teens at Monterey High School have to say about how these relationships can make your life a little more complicated.
How does your culture, friends, or cliques often affect the people or influence the people you date?
Parents can be really strict, with who you date, and I know some races, they're like, oh, you can only date certain people, and you can't date this other people, and it's hard because when you fall for somebody, you don't know who it's gonna be. You just fall for them because, I don't know, you still.
My mom, she would rather, a Persian Armenian, she would rather have me dating a Persian Armenian than any other race. I'm not gonna lie. I guess that's how she is, but I respect that.
If you're with someone, your friends are oh, just get at it, and yeah, they'll be get at it, do the damn thing, but drop it exactly, and you'll do it just because your friends, you want to look cool.
They'll brag on you until you do it.
You want to look cool in front of your friends, so when your friends tell you to do something, you'll most likely do it. So
but they're gonna keep going at it like, oh, you know, whatever, they're gonna break up, I give them this much time and blah, 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 blah.
And that does make it hard.
Yeah,
How do people change when they're in a dating relationship?
Like I have a friend that like I grew up with, like we've known each other since we were like 4 maybe. He just changed completely. He stopped hanging out with like all of us, and you know, like totally ditched everyone. He moved out with her. Like he started talking about everyone, like bad-mouthing everyone, you know.
People often change like the way they dress and stuff, you know, when they meet somebody. And when like you have a girlfriend, you do want to look nice.
If I'm wearing this and like my boyfriend doesn't like it, like he could just be like what are you doing wearing that? Yeah. Or like before you were together, you could wear something, but now that you're together, like you can't wear that shirt because he doesn't want you wearing that, because he doesn't want people looking at you. Like that's, yeah, you know. Like
jealousy is often mistaken for caring about you. How does this possessive behavior affect a relationship?
Trust, respect, and communication. Okay,
Yeah.
but half of the time we don't have that.
Yeah, you don't have.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, relationships do have that, but at the same time, like, you'll cut one or the other thing, and that's when everything just falls apart.
Yeah. First thing in a relationship, like the most important thing is trust.
Yeah.
You guys all have to trust like each other. Like when my girlfriend, we talked about it. We're like, we have to have trust with each other, and we do. Like we have a lot of trust with each other. Like she tells me things, I tell her things. Like we feel comfortable around each other.
When does extra attention from a boyfriend or girlfriend turn into obsession?
Phone calls.
Phone calls usually every day, going to see her every day.
Yeah.
Like
smooching, kissing, hugging, kissing,
I think
cuddling.
that, like, if you have a car,
Just
you like
overdoing
pick
it.
them up from school, take them to school, take them here, take them there.
That's
like,
obsession.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like you don't let them like hang out.
If you call her every 15 minutes,
Then
she
Where
tells
are
you,
you? Where you at?
Yeah.
Who are you with? What time are you coming home?
Too much of a good thing is a bad thing. You know?
Yeah.
Too much of anything that's great, fantastic is a bad thing.
Yeah, it's also true. Yeah.
You know, too much of it. So like, you know, maybe if you call her every other day, or, like give her a chance to call you.
It's always good to like, you know, switch it around, you know what I mean? So that you both get a chance to like call each other and see how each other is doing. So it doesn't seem like one person in the relationship is putting in more than the other. And then when you guys get in an argument, like it's like, well, you know, I'm the only one that calls you and I'm the only one who does this and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, you don't give me a chance to call you. Let me miss you for a couple of days and I'll call you.
Showing up at their work, you know, like just see what time they get off, or like see who they leave with, you know, that's, I guess, kind of being obsessed.
Or if they
it's like
telling you-
stalking, you know?
Yeah, if they tell you, oh, I'm going out with the ladies tonight, you know, and they tell you the club, and you show up at the club, you know, that's
And you're just spying, and they see you, and they tell you next. No, you're gonna deny. No, I wasn't there. I was somewhere else.
I just happen to be here with my friends.
Yeah.
Like if you're obsessed with someone and you see like that person with like someone else, and like you can get like stupid and like go like hurt them or like hurt yourself, you know? So
We've learned that love isn't about anger, jealousy, or fear. If someone hurts you or makes you feel scared or bad in any way, you should recognize that it is not a healthy relationship.
We wanted to know what you were thinking, so we went out on the street and talked to teens about situations they might find themselves in while dating.
Violence is a serious issue that affects many teens today. It can be confused as harmless affection and even sometimes totally ignored. Why is it okay for a girl to hit a guy?
I don't think it's okay for anybody to hit anybody.
it's not okay for them to hit guys or girls.
I don't think it's okay for anybody to hit anybody.
I don't think girls should hit guys.
I don't think it's okay for anybody to hit anybody.
I don't think it's right for girls to hit guys because hitting is a very violent thing.
I don't think it's okay at all.
How would you get involved if you saw someone getting physically or verbally abused?
Well, if it was a guy hitting a girl, then I'll try to stop it.
I've actually gotten in the middle of a few of them sometimes, and like, you know, sometimes I've heard that it's not your place, but I always feel that it is.
I'd probably try to talk to both of them and try to make them resolve their problem.
I would just like call the cops.
I honestly think the best idea is to keep out of it because I don't want to come and give a judgment where I don't know about the situation and have myself in trouble.
I would tell like an adult or someone.
I would probably talk to them if they were like my friend. I'd talk to them and be like, ask them like what's wrong and stuff.
I would try to break it up and then send them on their way.
Call the cops and just let anybody who could help out know.
If it was someone close to me, I know I wouldn't let that happen because I feel that violence is really wrong, and so I would try to stop it and talk to them about it.